People always talk about the missing link. They picture some creature halfway between an ape and a human. It's shuffling through a jungle, hairy, confused, a movie monster, a fossil that would solve everything. The one bone that connects the whole chain. But that's not really how it works. Evolution isn't a straight line. It's not a chain. It's a messy, branching bush. It's full of dead ends and strange experiments. There isn't one single missing link because there isn't one single chain to link up. We have lots of fossils. We have Australopithecus, we have Homo habilis, we have Homo erectus. We have cousins like the Neanderthals and the Denisovans. We can see the story of our bodies taking shape over millions of years. We stood up. Our brains got bigger. Our hands got better at making things. The fossil record is getting clearer all the time. We can trace the hardware. We can see the bones changing, the skulls expanding. We can map the physical journey from a small brain creature in the trees to us. So if the missing link isn't a bone, what is it? I think the true missing link isn't physical. It's not something you can dig out of the ground. It's a piece of software. It's a change in the mind. It's the thing that happened inside our brains that made everything else possible. It's the thing that turned a clever ape into a creature that builds cities and writes poetry and wonders about the stars. The real missing link, the thing that truly separates us from every other animal on this planet, is our ability to believe in things that aren't real. It's our imagination, but not just any imagination, it's our collective imagination. It's the power to invent a story, tell it to others, and have them all believe it so strongly that they act on it together. It's the ability to create and live in a shared reality that exists only in our minds. This sounds simple. It sounds like just telling stories, but it's the most powerful force on Earth. It's the foundation of everything we call human. Let's back up a bit. To understand the software, you have to appreciate the hardware it runs on. For millions of years, our ancestors were just another type of African ape. We weren't special. We were probably prey more often than we were predators. We were not at the top of the food chain. Then, things started to change. Around 6 million years ago, some apes started spending more time on two legs. Bipedalism. It was a huge deal. It freed up our hands. We could carry food. We could carry babies. And most importantly, we could carry tools. Our hands changed too. The opposable thumb became more refined. We could grip things with power, but also with precision. We could chip a rock to make a sharp edge. We could strip a branch to make a spear. This led to a change in diet. With tools, we could get more meat. We could scavenge more effectively. We could break open bones for the marrow inside. Meat is a dense source of energy. And all that extra energy had to go somewhere. A lot of it went to our heads. Our brains started to grow. An early ancestor like Australopithecus had a brain about the size of a chimpanzee's. By the time Homo erectus came along, it had doubled. Then it kept growing. This was a very expensive organ. The human brain uses about 20% of our body's energy, even though it's only 2% of our weight. It was a huge evolutionary gamble. Something had to be paying for that energy cost. For a long time, we thought the answer was simple. Big brain equals smarts. Smarts equal better tools. Better tools equal better survival. And that's true up to a point. Neanderthals had brains just as big as ours, maybe even a little bigger. They were incredibly smart. They were expert tool makers. They were fantastic hunters. They survived in Ice Age Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. They were tough, adaptable, and intelligent. But then we, Homo sapiens, showed up. And within a few thousand years of our arrival, the Neanderthals were gone. So what was the difference? The hardware was almost identical. Their bodies were strong. Their brains were big. They had fire. They had tools. They had, language of some kind. But they were missing something. They were missing the software update that we got. What did this update do? It didn't just let us talk, it let us gossip. That sounds like a joke, but it's serious. And a chimp can say, look, an eagle. That's useful. An early human could probably say, look, a lion. That's also useful. But Homo sapiens could say, don't go near the river. I saw a lion there yesterday. And by the way, John is trying to take over as leader, and he's not sharing his food properly. Language for us isn't just about describing the physical world, it's about describing the social world. It allows us to keep track of who is trustworthy, who is a cheat, who is an ally. This let us form bigger, more stable groups. Most primates can't maintain a social group larger than a few dozen individuals. The social grooming and constant contact required just becomes too much. But with gossip, you can maintain a connection with someone without being physically next to them. You can know their reputation, you can build trust. Our brains seem to be built to handle a social circle of about 150 people. This is often called Dunbar's number. It's the limit of a community built on personal relationships. But this is where it gets really strange. This is where the true missing link kicks in. We didn't stop at 150. We built villages of 1,000, cities of 1,000,000, or nations of 1,000,000,000. How? You can't gossip your way to a city of 1,000,000 people. You can't personally know everyone. You can't maintain personal trust. So how do you get all these strangers to cooperate? How do you get them to follow the same rules, fight in the same armies, and pay the same taxes? You tell them a story, a fiction. You tell them about the great ancestor spirit that watches over the tribe. This spirit isn't real. You can't touch it or see it. But if everyone in the tribe believes in it, they will all follow the rules of the spirit. They will cooperate. You tell them about a god, or gods, who created the world and laid down sacred laws. These laws aren't just one person's opinion. They are absolute divine commands. If everyone believes this, you can build a massive society. You can build pyramids and cathedrals. You tell them a story about a nation. What is a nation? It's not the land. It's not the people. It's an idea. It's a shared story of a common past and a common destiny. A piece of paper with a flag on it becomes a sacred symbol. Millions of people who have never met will feel a connection to each other. They will be willing to die for this shared idea, this fiction. This is the power. The ability to create a shared fictional reality. A chimpanzee cannot do this. A chimp can't get 1,000 other chimps to work together by promising them a banana paradise after they die. A wolf can't organize a new pack by writing down a set of laws and a constitution. Only Homo sapiens can do this. Look at our world. It's built on these fictions. Money is probably the best example. What is a dollar bill? It's just a piece of paper with some ink on it. It has no real value. You can't eat it, you can't wear it. So why does it work? It works because we all believe it works. I believe that if I give this piece of paper to someone, they will give me bread. The baker believes that if she takes my paper, she can give it to the landlord to pay her rent. The landlord believes he can give it to the power company. It's a system of pure trust and a shared story. It's a collective hallucination that allows billions of strangers to trade and cooperate every single day. Where corporations are another fiction. A company like Ford or Google isn't a physical thing. It's not the buildings. It's not the employees. It's not the shareholders. It's a legal fiction. It's an idea that we have all agreed to treat as if it were a person. It can own property. It can sign contracts. It can sue people. It exists purely in our shared imagination. And what about human rights? Where do they come from? They aren't written in our DNA. They are not a physical law of the universe like gravity. You can't find them with a microscope. They are a story. A powerful, beautiful story that we invented a few hundred years ago. We declare that all humans are born with certain inalienable rights, and because enough of us believe in this story, we try to build a world that reflects it. We create laws and institutions based on this fiction. This cognitive leap, this ability to invent and believe in fictions, is what caused the so-called cognitive revolution around 70,000 years ago. Before this, Homo sapiens were around for a long time, but they weren't doing anything particularly special. They were just another big mammal trying to get by. Their tools were pretty much the same for over 100,000 years. Then, suddenly everything changed. We see the first signs of art, cave paintings in Europe and Indonesia. Tiny, intricate statues carved from mammoth ivory. We see the first jewelry. Beads made from shells, found hundreds of miles from the sea. We see complex burials, where people are laid to rest with tools and ornaments. What does this tell us? It tells us people were thinking beyond the here and now. A cave painting isn't for finding food or fighting off a lion. It's about something else. Maybe it's a story, maybe it's a ritual, maybe it's a way of connecting with the spirit world. We don't know for sure, but we know it's symbolic. It represents something that isn't physically there. A shell necklace doesn't keep you warm. It communicates something. It says, I belong to this group, or I have this status. It's part of a shared social reality. Burying someone with grave goods suggests a belief in an afterlife, a belief in a world beyond the one we can see. This is pure fiction, pure imagination. This new ability gave us an incredible edge. While the Neanderthals were probably living in small, family-based groups, Homo sapiens could start to organize. They could form larger tribes, connected by a shared myth or a common ancestor spirit. a tribe of 150 sapiens, all cooperating flexibly, could easily outcompete a group of 20 Neanderthals, no matter how strong or smart each individual Neanderthal was. Our strength isn't in the individual. A human is not that impressive. We're not very strong. We're not very fast. We don't have claws or fangs. A single human against a single chimpanzee is in big trouble. But 1,000 humans organized by a shared story, they can change the world. This is what allowed us to spread out of Africa and across the entire planet with stunning speed. We could adapt to new environments not by changing our bodies over millennia, but by changing our stories overnight. We could invent new social structures, new hunting techniques, new tools, and pass that knowledge on through language and myth. If a group needed to cross a frozen land bridge, they didn't have to wait to evolve thicker fur. They learned how to make better clothes, and they motivated each other with stories of a promised land on the other side. They coordinated their efforts based on shared plans and rules. This power, of course, has a dark side. The same ability that allows us to cooperate also allows us to create conflict on a massive scale. For most of our history, cooperation was about us. The story defined who was in our group, but it also defined who was not, and they were often not seen as fully human. They were the outsiders, the barbarians, the infidels. The same shared fiction that creates trust and community inside the group can create hatred and violence toward those outside it. This war is a uniquely human invention, at least at the scale we practice it. Ants have wars, but they are genetically programmed. Chimpanzees have violent group conflicts, but they are small and personal. Only humans will organize millions of strangers to kill millions of other strangers because they believe in different stories. They believe in different gods, different nations, or different political ideologies, all of which are fictions. Our entire history is the story of competing fictions. The story of Christianity versus the story of Islam, the story of capitalism versus the story of communism, the story of one nation versus the story of another. We live and die by these stories. But the flip side is that we can also change the stories. A biological reality is fixed. A chimp will always be a chimp. A human will always be a human. But a cultural reality, a fictional reality, is flexible. A few centuries ago, the story of slavery was accepted by many societies as natural and normal. And it was a shared fiction that some people were property, but then people started to tell a new story. The story of human rights. And they told it so powerfully and so persistently that they changed the old story. They changed the laws. They changed the reality we live in. The story of the role of women in society has changed dramatically. The story of what a family is has changed. These things feel solid and real to us, but they are all based on shared agreements, on fictions that we can and do rewrite. This is what makes us so strange and so powerful. We are the animal that lives in a dual reality. We live in the objective reality of trees and rivers and lions, but we also live in a second layer of reality, a reality of our own making, full of things like money, nations, gods, and laws. And for us, the second reality is often more important than the first. People will suffer and die for their god or their country. No one will die for a stock market index, but the story that the index represents can cause people to lose their homes and their livelihoods. So the missing link isn't a skull in a museum. It's the moment the first human turned to another, and instead of just saying, there's a lion, said, let me tell you about the great lion spirit that protects our people. It's the moment a group of people decided that a particular rock or tree was sacred. It's the moment they agreed to follow a leader not just because he was the strongest, but because he was chosen by the ancestors. It was the birth of fiction, the birth of myth, the birth of the shared dream. This explains so much about our species. It explains our creativity. We paint, we sing, we write, we build monuments. All of these are ways of making our fictions more real, of giving them substance. A national anthem makes the nation feel more real. A great cathedral makes God feel more present. A powerful novel makes us feel emotions for people who never existed. It also explains our anxiety. To live in a world of fictions is to live with the constant nagging awareness that the ground beneath our feet is not as solid as it seems. We are always shoring up our stories, defending them, arguing about them, because if people stop believing, the fiction loses its power. If everyone suddenly decided a dollar bill was just worthless paper, our entire global economy would collapse in an instant. The magic would be gone. So we are constantly telling and retelling our stories to ourselves and to our children. This is what we call culture. This is what we call religion. This is what we call education. Where did this ability come from? We don't know for sure. It was probably a gradual process. Our brains grew larger, and the connections within them, especially in the prefrontal cortex, became more complex. Language evolved from simple calls to a sophisticated system capable of expressing abstract ideas. At some point, the hardware became powerful enough to run this new world-changing software. It might have been a small genetic mutation that rewired a few key circuits in the brain, a happy accident. But once it happened, there was no going back. The power of large-scale, flexible cooperation was too great an advantage. It made us the masters of the planet. We drove every other human species to extinction. We drove countless animal species to extinction. We remade the very landscape of the Earth to fit our needs and our stories. We are, in a very real sense, living inside a dream we all decided to have together. It's a messy, chaotic, often violent dream, but it's also full of beauty and compassion and incredible feats of ingenuity. When we search for the missing link, we are looking in the wrong place. We are looking down into the dirt for a bone. We should be looking up at each other, at our societies, our laws, our art, our beliefs. The evidence is all around us. The evidence is us. We are the missing link. We are the creature that bridged the gap between the physical world of animals and a new world of imagined reality. This idea changes how you see everything. A wedding is no longer just a party, it's a ritual to solidify a shared story about a legal and social bond. A courtroom is a place where we tell competing stories and a jury decides which one becomes the official reality. A scientific theory is a special kind of story, one that has to match the facts of the physical world, but it is still a human creation, a map we make of reality. We are the storytelling ape. That is our essence. We are not the strongest, or the fastest, or the toughest. We are the ones who can make things up, and then act as if they are real. And in doing so, we make them real. That is our superpower. And it's our greatest danger. The stories we tell next will determine the future of our planet. The challenge for us now is to find a story big enough and inclusive enough for all 7 billion of us to believe in. A story that doesn't divide us into us and them. A story that reminds us that beneath all our fictional identities of nation, religion, and race, we are all members of one species on one small, fragile planet. Finding that story might be the next great step in our evolution. Not an evolution of bone and muscle, but an evolution of the mind. An evolution of the one thing that truly makes us human, our shared imagination. The true missing link isn't in our past. It's the connection we are trying to build for our future. It's the next story we choose to tell.